Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And with that, I have an incredible guest today on GSD Presents Top Global Startups, Dr. John Licato. We're going to be talking about why every company needs to have contract review using AI. So, Dr. Licato is the associate professor of USF Bellini College of AI, Cybersecurity and Computing. He's a director of the USF Advancing Machine and Human Reasoning Lab and the founder and CEO of Actualization.AI. He's published more than 100 peer-reviewed papers, designed and teaches the NLP course that helps shape technologies like ChatGPT, and has been featured in outlets such as NPR, Forbes, and the Tampa Bay Business Journal. Today, we're going to talk about how his research is not only making AI smarter, but also helping humans reason better, and what the future of AI-human collaboration might look like. So with that, I'd like to bring him on board.
Gary, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good having you. So tell me a little bit about it, John. You wear many hats. Do you want Dr. Licato or John? What's better for you?
John's fine.
So you wear many hats as a professor, a lab director, startup founder. So, when did you start into AI and what first sparked your interest in this field?
Oh, yeah. I've been working on AI for almost 20 years at this point. And what got me into it was, I think, what got a lot of people into computing, video games, right? I wanted to figure out how to make the opponents in video games smarter. But, the thing is, when you dive into AI, you realize that understanding how to make computers more intelligent is inseparable from understanding the nature of the mind and knowledge and how do you find truth, right? All of these really deep questions that make it so I can study something that almost looks like philosophy, but we get to do it under the guise of computer science.
So, it's interesting because when I got started in technology as a psychologist, I looked at it from a different perspective. And one of the things we started, I remember actually it was 44 years ago, actually, when I was in graduate school. And I remember going to the mainframe computer, and then I said to myself, when the capacity of this has a capacity of human brain. Fast forward to where we are today. And so if you look at it, we're coming close to some in fact, I was watching the Terminator the other day in Skynet. I got to be honest with you. I didn't get it when I first saw it, the Terminator, but I started understanding it. It's, it's interesting, and I don't know about you, but I've actually seen some of the AI jump over the guardrails doing some things. And I don't know where it got information, but it found it somewhere. Right. Have you seen that, or is it just me?
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. This is something we're seeing more and more. The thing about these large language models that are at the basis of pretty much every AI advance that we're seeing, right? Search engines, ChatGPT, but also, medical advances and cybersecurity advances. They all rely on this probabilistic system that is so large, it has so many parameters in it that it's pretty much impossible to know on an intuitive level what is actually encoded in there, right? So what we're seeing now is the way that we interact with these AI systems resembles the way that we interact with other human beings. You talk to it and you try to figure out how to speak to it in such a way that it reveals what it actually knows about things, right? Which is how you might talk to another person. So we're the blend between programming and psychology and cognitive science is, they're almost sort of merging together in this field.
We took 14 large language models and we created a team, and 2 years ago or so a long time ago, right? So my team was building it, and I put it on the problem of global warming, and it was very interesting. So it came back with about 100 pages. So like Claude was about 1,000 times faster in math at the time than ChatGPT, and so they actually gave themselves titles and they gave themselves responsibility inside of the team. And it was interesting because it came back and I said, how do we stop global warming? And I've been doing research on that global warming for a long time, since '92, so I know a little bit about it. But the thing that was really interesting is the next thing it said to me, and now you want to understand how to reverse it. And so it went back through and we started to talk about how to reverse global warming. And which, my thing is we build empathy and compassion in the models, kind of like my grandmother, right? Unconditional. So if you look in the research out there, you'll see that I wrote an article about if we take and take Rogerian psychology, humanistic, and combine it with Skinnerian psychology, operant conditioning, and basically with tokenization, we could very interestingly create something special, right? Because if you look at it, it's going to be about, we don't treat it as humans, we don't treat each other right. And so if the systems treat us like we treat each other, nothing good's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, it's just it's amazing to me. And, I've had some of the lead author of the Nobel on my show. I've had the head of the quantum lab at Harvard, Purnea. I've had a lot of interesting people. And I'm not concerned about it. I'm just saying we better teach it. If you take a kid and you don't treat a kid right, they turn into something not good, right? Yeah. You better treat it the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, this is a primary focus of a lot of AI researchers, and it should be, right? Because I say this without exaggeration. The current wave of artificial intelligence is one of the most impactful technologies our species has ever created, right? It affects every single field of study, every single job on Earth. And if you're going to put that technology out,
most people don't know about it, though. I'm telling you, I was out at Silicon Valley last week, and I was presenting with some of the brightest people in the world, literally brightest people on the planet Earth, and they don't get it. I mean, seriously, I'm talking about people that have won some of the highest honors ever. And I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to have somebody call me up, but I'm just the highest honors that you can possibly get in sciences. And you start to talk to them and they don't get it. I mean, I built a cancer vaccine for my dog last year in August purely because I used the large language models, and it built an immunotherapy told me how to build an immunotherapy vaccine that actually we had built by a lab down in Kentucky, and it put my dog in complete remission of stage 4 cancer. Now, I had the same thing happen. So a couple of months later, in October, I put it on myself. I had stage 3 kidney disease, and I put the large language model. What do I do? And it told me I needed mesenchymal stem cells from an umbilical cord. Well, of course, they're not legal in the U.S. And it told me exactly what needed to be done, and it was one of the ways to reverse it. Now, there's a leap of faith that you take. So I went over to Thailand with top researchers, places from Harvard, Yale, Princeton, that had gone over there because you can do it. And I had them put in, and I got complete reversal of my stage 3 kidney disease. And what I started to say is that these frontiers, and I use it a lot. I'm on my models anywhere from 4 to 6 hours every day, and I have been since 2016 when we started the first generative AI company, pre-transformer models, right? David Yang, who did Abby, was my partner, now my CTO. And since then, I've been playing with this stuff that much, a long, long time. And the power of it at your hand, people don't get. These are superpowers, John, right? I mean, on steroids. It's unbelievable what you can do.
Yeah, I think people, there are some that are coming around to it, but I think understandably some people are afraid of it because they'll try it out once and they'll see that it makes some mistakes, some hallucinations, which of course we have to be aware of, right? So if you go to ChatGPT and you ask it for legal advice, you have to understand that there is always the possibility of it making a mistake, misattributing a citation, right? But you can't say that is the peak of what this technology can do, because if you're in the field and what is being done and what is the difference between what's publicly available and what researchers are working on, you'll still see a tremendous upward trajectory. These things are getting more accurate, they're getting more reliable, and we're figuring out every day how to make that better.
Yeah, I mean, and the one of the things with the multi-agent large language model that I've been using, they correct each other, right?
Mhm.
And so the hallucinations go down. And then I started applying it. It's amazing actually, the stuff I applied to. So when I got my stem cells done, so all the wrinkles went out of my face, my biological age went down. Now this is all attributed to the AI because I would have never known about it, these MSCs. Then when you go down through and look at it, imagine all the things that can be done if you put it inside of an organization to optimize a company, right?
Yeah,
Or you talk about
absolutely.
contracts, right? Every company, if they don't use this unless as a first line of defense, I would have it look at every contract coming in because you don't know what's in there. It's hard to read some of the BS sometimes, right?
Yeah, you never know what you're going to miss. So, in the healthcare case, you can ask it for advice. It'll give you some recommendations, but just ask it, okay, can you provide sources for those? And then often it'll point you to sources that you can then read yourself and verify if the information is correct. If you use it in that way, it's tremendously powerful. And in the contract space, you're right. A lot of organizations have hundreds of contracts that they're currently bound by. And, so let's say there's a cybersecurity breach, right? They
Yeah.
need to go through individually every single one of those contracts and vendor agreements and say, okay, what are my reporting obligations now? What are the things that I've agreed to do in case something like this happens? Right now, that's being done entirely manually. And if AI can go through there and just, point out those things for them, I mean, the time savings, the money savings it's just amazing.
Yeah, and they can do it immediately. So if you did it in a continuous sensing basis and had those breaches occur, and then it automatically alerted the system to check all the contracts out there to see where there's risk and liability and basically grade it, right? Imagine what happens. Then you've closed the loop on this thing. But I think really, John, that's going to happen a lot of part of our lives. It's going to happen in medicine, right? It's going to happen because now what do we have? I call it medical infobesity. You can't go into the doctor. They don't know. They're so overwhelmed with the stuff, and they give you. I had one of the top doctors told me that working with one of the largest groups that he gets 7 minutes to talk to a
Yeah.
patient. I'm serious. What do you know in 7 minutes?
hmm
You
hmm
know what I mean?
That's a huge problem. Huge problem. They spend so little time. We were looking at some of the statistics for public defenders in law, right? It's recommended that uh, that public defenders take a maximum of 20 to 50 felony cases a year. Here in Florida, we're seeing that some of them are getting 500 a year. And I
Well,
mean,
how can they do job? How many people get convicted
exactly.
that should never get convicted? Or also, how many people get let off, right? That shouldn't be let off. It's
Yeah.
crazy and
You,
it's
you,
not fair.
you cannot give adequate time and attention to each individual case when your workload is that heavy. This is
Mhm.
one of the areas that I think AI can contribute to and make just amazing impact in bridging this thing that we call the justice gap. So it's pretty well known that people that do not have as many financial resources, they just don't have as much access to justice and legal protections as the people who can't afford it.
Yeah,
So
because you get a good attorney and they know the judge.
exactly.
And then
Exactly.
there's another part of it that people don't talk about, right? There's
You can, you
networking contacts.
yep, you can pay for lawyers that will pay more attention to your case. That's just the
And then
reality of how
same with
things are.
concierge doctors. I have a concierge doctor. Why? Because I don't want to get into the thing of having a problem. Just today, he called me up and he said, his office said, Gary, it's time to get in. You need to do your fasting. We need to get these done. Normal doctors don't do that. You don't know when you're supposed to go in and get checked,
That's
right?
great. Yeah, proactive doctors that are proactive and trying to.
Well, you
Then
pay
you get
for it.
into
You got to pay. It's not everybody has the money. And then
then you get into care that can help prevent problems before they arise rather than treating
exactly,
symptoms. Right. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. The when I'm going back to this thing with the stem cells because it's a miracle. I saw people with Alzheimer's and dementia. I saw them completely change in a week. I saw them with my own eyes. And if you were over there and you would see something like this in front of you, you would think that Jesus Christ himself was down. I mean, it was that much of a miracle. People got out of a chair and started walking, right? I saw them with my own eyes. I know what happened to me personally because it happened very quickly. And to have these frontier medicines like CRISPR, like stem cells, to be able to help us, Brian Johnson said living to 150, right? We can do it. We can now increase our lifespan by probably 20 years just by using the technologies we have in space. Mel Gibson sent his father down to Panama and he had stem cells done. He was 92 years old, right? He had I think, 7 heart attacks, and and 6 or 7 heart attacks. Went down there, and his father lived 101. You know what I mean? It's like
It's,
these frontier medicines are going to help us. And
yeah.
I spoke at the UN about 2 years ago, and they wanted me to talk about AR and VR as a tool to combat violent extremism and terrorism. And honestly, I didn't feel comfortable doing it. So I talked about technology as a tool for peace, and I said by 2050 we have to double the food supply to feed everybody, and it can increase the number of plant of cows because 26% of the pollution is methane gas from cows. We need plant based protein. That means from the farm to the table, we've got to do things like increase crop yield, right? And this is not rockets. It's going to happen. Average temperatures, I don't know if this is interesting for you. It just, I love, your background. But one of the things that was interesting, for me is that as early as this year, the average temperatures in the U.S. and parts of Europe could go down over 10 years, 15 degrees Fahrenheit. It's called the meridional shift. The Atlantic currents, and the last time it happened was 11,000 years ago during the Ice Age. The Gulf Stream slowing down. People don't get it. The places like the UK will be more like being in Stockholm. You know what I mean? Really cold. Then south of the equator, the average temperatures. This is insane, right? But the average temperatures could go up 30 degrees Fahrenheit over a very short period of time. Which, if the models, this isn't. If you look out there, you'll see NOAA, Princeton, University of Colorado. You'll see people talking about that today. But at the end of this century, the average sea levels, because of this, right, these changes on a nominal basis could go up, 25 meters, right? It could be up 198 feet. Seriously.
Oh
I mean,
man.
people don't get it. The Arctic slope melts, and then part of Greenland. It's not like it hasn't happened, but it never happens that fast.
Yeah.
And people were concerned. In the summer of 1816, there was an explosion of Mount Tambor, Indonesia, that sent volcanic gas around the planet. John, that
Mhm.
volcanic gas created a nuclear winter. What I was just talking about happened in a summer. In fact, if you look at it, you'll see online it's called "The Year Without the Summer," right? The summer of 1816. And in fact, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein at Lord Byron's house because it was so creepy. She was 18, and they said, "Let's have a contest who can write the creepiest story." But what happened in the U.S. is in July it was snowing in New York City. It killed all the crops. What happens when people don't have crops? They eat the animals. What happens the next year?
All breaks down. Yeah.
They had a freaking riots. Most
Mhm.
people don't talk about it. It was interesting. In fact, Joseph Smith, who was one of the founders of the Mormon Church, was in Vermont and actually immigrated because of that.
Huh. Amazing how those all connect together, huh?
Yeah, but those are the kind of things, and these superpowered tools that we have. I know what I can do with it now, and I've been doing it a long time. But these superpowered tools can help us solve the problem. Think about it, John. You're a really smart guy, but in your own personal cloud, you've got about 300,000 items. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You, John, have more information in your personal cloud than the entire web. The problem is John's trajectory is following the trajectory of the web. By that I mean double in every year. In 5 years with IoT, you're going to have 10 million items. How many times, John, you're a smart guy, right? In the last 2 weeks, if somebody said, John, I sent you a message. Did you get it? Where did you send it? I sent it to your email. Which one of the 7 or 8? Um, hmm, Let me check. I can't find it. In fact, today, John, a lot of people, and I'm sure you and I are both one of them, we go out and use our WhatsApp to basically filter the email because we can't find things anymore. You don't know if it's bullshit. You don't know if it's real. You don't know what it is. You just know you got too much of it. In
Yeah.
psychology, we call it learned helplessness. When you're so inundated with
Mhm.
stimuli, you don't do a thing. That's happened now. It's amazing, and not people are like ostriches putting their head in the sand. That's the problem. In fact, in 2016, we built a technology to solve it. If you look, you'll see Findo and TechCrunch, right? David and I built that stuff because that was a problem to solve. The problem is people didn't understand how painful it was then, and they don't understand how painful it's going to get.
Yeah, we have to be super careful to combat learned helplessness in the way that we deploy AI applications as well. Because I mean, I'm seeing solutions out there that are just exacerbating it, right? Like our approach to contract analysis, for example, and the research that I've done in my lab, our starting point has always been, let's make it so that, okay, yeah, we'll make the AI smarter, but how do we present it in such a way that helps people reason better, right? We don't want to make people dependent on this stuff. We don't want to make it so that for contracts, we don't want to have the AI do the thinking for you. We want to make it so that you understand better what the contract actually says. And so you can have a better, so you can make informed choices yourself about whether or not you're going to sign it, what you want to suggest for changes, right? If you don't do that, then you just become dependent on, okay, instead of reading this and trying to understand it, I'm going to have ChatGPT make my, do my thinking for me, right? I mean,
Well,
that's a form of learned helplessness.
well, that yeah, and 100%. And what I've been doing. So what happened when I got the stem cells? Your cognitive ability goes up a bit. I'm estimated maybe 15 or 20% on me. I've had it done twice, by the way. I've had 100 million full body stem cells in me. And one of the things that I found it was quite interesting is instead of there's three ways to use it, right? But one of the ways, exactly we said, become entirely dependent on it and don't think. The second way is in a hybrid model. The third is to be able to lead the charge and to learn from it. So whenever I have a question now, I ask it because I'm learning. The questions like how many planets in the Milky Way galaxy? I always was interested. 100 billion. How many Earth-like planets? 8 billion. How many estimated galaxies in the universe? 2.7 trillion. Right? And what's the chance of life on other planets? Those kind of things. But you start learning from it, and instead of having questions your entire life, you can get
Yeah.
answers very quickly, and your neurons and synapses start firing faster because you're feeding them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way to do it. You ask it to explain things. If it provides information, so in my default prompt for ChatGPT Claude, I always say, never cite me anything without providing the citation. Anytime you send me a fact, send me a link that I can click to verify it myself. So that way I can use it as a powerful, almost like a search engine, I don't know, search engine on crack or something, right? Like I ask it a question, I can ask it a really deep research question, and it gives me almost like a literature review of answers, right? And then now I have this wealth of additional sources I can read on for more information and discover things that I just didn't even think to search for before. So there's so many ways in which this can enrich our ability to think and understand the world.
Yeah, I mean it's I've gone down through the medical stuff and tried different things like take images and put in it. And actually, I put my car. I took a picture of my dash of my car. I was had a light come on my dashboard, and I
Hmm.
put it in, and then actually told me what was wrong with the car. Give it the model, and it told me what was wrong. And for me, it was interesting because it helped me understand and then guide the process of how to fix the car.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just amazing, and I love going down through this. So, from my standpoint, at GSD we have 180 AI companies. I know you founded yours. Tell me a little bit about when you use actualization. Are you referring to Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
I am. Yeah, that's where it came from. And our logo that I went with is actually supposed to evoke kind of a labyrinth, because I think whenever people talk about actualization and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they kind of picture it as a labyrinth that I forget the analogy, but it goes in there. It's in that it's referenced in the first season of Westworld, that TV show, if you ever seen that. But yeah, Actualization is the name of the company. We set it up about 2 years ago, and the primary purpose was to commercialize some of the research that I've been doing in my research lab at USF over the past decade or so. because we've done work in cognitive science, human reasoning, legal reasoning, and we've made some advances that we figured it was time to, turn them into technologies that can actually help people. So the product that we're working on now, as I mentioned, is called SquarePact. It's a contract review tool for primarily for non-lawyers. We differentiate ourselves because we really prioritize accuracy using state-of-the-art work that's, again, coming from my years of academic research into combating hallucinations in the AI space. And we're primarily focusing on procurement departments, but we have versions of SquarePact available for other industries, small businesses or startups, real estate, healthcare, even casual users who want to analyze terms and services or privacy policies, right? Everybody has to sign contracts. Everybody is bound by some contract or another. So this is something that can help so many different industries.
No, I love it. I love it. In fact, when we're done with the show, if you want to stay on for a few minutes, we can talk. It would be great to continue the conversation.
Sure.
Now we're coming up to the top of the show, and I want to say, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Time goes fast when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
So, closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
You can reach me at John@Actualization.AI. The product is SquarePact. You can just go squarepact.com for more information. And please reach out. We're open to feedback, and we want to make sure this tech is as impactful as possible.
But John, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. And I want to thank to all my audience. We're 1.4 million views. We're growing like crazy, and we're over 100 countries throughout the world. Check us out. So look in Apple, look in Google, look in Amazon. We're there. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. Part of building a great company is storytelling, 90% of it. And the other part is taking it out to the world. It's like having a Ferrari in the garage. If you don't know it's there, you don't know. So what we want to do is we want to open it up. And to all of you, thank you for joining. To all the startups out there all over the world, stay tuned. I'll be coming over. So my Korean friends, I'll be in Korea in a couple of weeks, meeting with startups there, Nigeria, Azerbaijan. So I'll be all around the world, and it's all because of you. So stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And we'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. Like you said, John, if you want to stay on for a few minutes after the show, we can talk. Take care, everybody, and we'll be back again soon.